deep cover spy. You don't remember your real name, but you remember exactly how to kill the woman in this photo. The problem is, you don't know if she's your wife or your target. The man across from you doesn't have a mouth. He doesn't need one. You hear him inside your skull. A cold, digital rasp. Choose. You reach for the brass key on the table, the only solid thing in a world of ghosts, and your hand passes straight through it. Your fingers curl around nothing but stagnant air. You try again, but the metal is a hologram, a glitch in the rendering of your own mind. That's when the terror hits. This isn't an interrogation. It's a diagnostic test, and you just failed. In this world, they don't fire you for failing. They erase you. The program is already running. And you finally realize that in this world, we don't have mouths for screaming, just lines for obeying. System reset. You snap awake in the back of a rain-slicked sedan. The hardest part isn't the lying. It's the 3 seconds every morning where you don't know who you are. You stare at the rearview mirror, but the reflection is a featureless white head, a stranger watching you through a window. You look down at your technical jacket. The zippers are dark, which means you're still alive. When they turn red, you don't get a second chance. You've spent 15 years hollowing yourself out, becoming a human-shaped hole that people pour their agendas into. The agency thinks you're their best asset. The syndicate thinks you're their rising star. You are a precise instrument designed for chaos, and right now, the silence is the loudest sound you've ever heard. But you're just a guy in a navy jacket realizing that the system doesn't make mistakes. It only makes targets. The phone on the passenger seat vibrates. One word: proceed. As you grab the device, the zippers on your sleeve begin to glow. A soft, surgical crimson. And a low hum against your skin, like a phone that never stops vibrating. Your heart skips. The red isn't a fashion choice. It's the armed phase of decommissioning. You aren't wearing a jacket anymore. You're wearing a target. The agency is signaling to every sleeper cell in the city that Asset 14B is officially open season. You aren't going to a mission. You are the mission. You start the car, your hands shaking, a biological glitch the agency would hate. You drive not because you're following orders, but because you're terrified of the silence. Every light you pass is another lens. Every sensor is a finger on a trigger. The city you used to own is now a cage with 1,000 eyes. The city is a battlefield. A man turns his head at a bus stop. You immediately pivot into an alley. A black car slows behind you. You cross the street without looking back. This is the spy lens. Once you turn it on, you can never turn it off. The agency has already leaked your profile. They've turned your own excellence into a trail of breadcrumbs. You reach into your pocket and feel the brass key from the diagnostic dream. It's cold, solid, heavy. It shouldn't be there. Yet it's the only compass you have left in a world trying to delete you. You aren't following a path. You're following a memory that doesn't belong to you. You walk past a shop window and see a featureless white head staring back. You realize you don't even have a face anymore. You are just a navy blue shadow moving through a gray city, waiting for the first bullet to find the center of that red zipper. You don't check the floor plan of apartment 14B. Your feet already know the distance to the door. You use the keycard from the dead drop, the one they left for you to find. Why would they leave the door open for a man they're trying to kill? Because the agency never makes mistakes. They only make traps. You step inside the high-rise. The air smells of ozone and industrial floor wax. You sit in the chair facing the monitor wall. They flicker to life, but they don't show your past. They show your future. It's a predictive confession. The screens are showing dates, names, and coordinates for a coup that hasn't happened yet. To the world, this is a confession. To the agency, it's the justification for your sanitization. They aren't punishing you for what you did. They're erasing you for what their algorithms say you're likely to do. Preemptive erasure. The recording on the screen is a masterclass in behavioral math. You watch your own deepfake silhouette describing crimes you have no intention of committing. But the agency doesn't care about intent. They care about probability. You realize the logic now. You're too good at your job to be left alive, and too dangerous to be allowed to quit. You pull the microdrive from the terminal one clean motion, taking their predictive lie with you. You look at the window. The red zippers on your sleeves are pulsing now, synchronized with a countdown on the center screen. 1 minute, 50 seconds. You aren't a ghost anymore. You're a flare in the dark. You are the glitch they forgot to patch. The monitors begin to scream with digital noise, a high-pitched frequency that tries to scramble your thoughts. They want you confused. They want you slow. But 15 years of training doesn't just vanish. You hit the stairs. You can hear the synchronized thud of boots below, a sound you used to make. They're moving in a three-man stack, clearing each landing with the same clinical precision you taught them. You're breathing too hard, your lungs burning, the precision of the mission dissolving into a messy, desperate scramble for altitude. Every flight of stairs is a gamble. Every shadow is a barrel. You reach the roof, and the world turns white. A helicopter spotlight pins you to the gravel like an insect in a display case. You wait for the bullets. You wait for the release. But no one fires, because dead men don't get blamed. Broadcasted ones do. The speakers on the chopper are playing your confession, so loud the entire block can hear it. They're making sure that by the time you hit the ground, you're a pariah. The world won't see an agent being murdered. They'll see a traitor being brought to justice. You look up at the helicopter door. A figure stands there. Navy jacket, dark gray trousers, but his zippers are dark. He is the quiet to your noise. He is the replacement. He's the you that's going to wake up tomorrow morning and believe the lies for another 15 years. You finally understand the cycle. You weren't special. You were just a temporary patch in a leaking system. They gave you the jacket so they could identify the vacancy when it was time to recycle. The man in the chopper waves. It's not a taunt. It's a salute. He's waiting for you to complete the cycle. He's waiting for the vacancy you're about to create. You realize the only way to break the loop is to step outside of it. You don't wait for them to push. You just step off. Gravity is the only thing in this world that doesn't lie. Gravity doesn't care about your clearance level or your loyalty. It just pulls. For 3 seconds, as you fell through the dark, you were finally truly free. You weren't an asset. You were just a mass accelerating toward the inevitable. Then you hit the trash bags. You're alive, gasping for air that tastes like ozone. You look at your jacket. The red glow is gone. The system thinks you're dead. You roll onto the wet asphalt, your ribs screaming, but your mind is finally clear. You look at the brass key in your hand and see the tiny agency stamp on the side. It wasn't a gift. It was a beacon. It was planted. No one escapes the agency. They just get reassigned. You aren't a rogue agent. You're an initiate. You crawl into the shadows, a ghost that finally has a haunting to do. You aren't a ghost in the machine. You're just the machine's way of haunting itself. You get up, the pain in your leg a reminder that you're still biological matter. You get up because there's still one ghost left to follow. You follow the replacement, Asset 14C. You don't want to save him. You want to see the man you used to be. He walks with that mechanical precision you used to pride yourself on. He thinks he's the hero of a story that ended 10 minutes ago. You watch him get into a black sedan, the self-driving coffin meant for you. This is the sanitization phase. To the agency, the replacement is now Asset 14B, and 14B needs to be erased. The car drives toward the harbor. The news will report a tragic accident. The world moves on, but you're still standing in the rain, holding a key to a house they wanted you to find. You watch your own death drive away at 40 miles per hour. It's a strange thing being a spectator at your own funeral. You feel a pang of recognition. You aren't watching a man die. You're watching a version of yourself being deleted. You return to the high-rise, moving through the service ducts you installed yourself. You're sitting in the crawl space of 14B now, watching the new replacement through the vent. He drinks from your mug. He checks the door exactly how you used to. He is a mirror with no original. You sit in the dark, the metal of the vents cold against your skin. You realize you aren't here to kill him. You're here to see if the hardware can be infected. You wait for the moment the room plunges into darkness. You lean into the vent and prepare the payload. You've given your life to the agency, but you're about to give 14C something they can't take back. You're going to give him a memory. The lights flicker. You whisper, just one word. Your real name, the one the agency spent 15 years trying to make you forget. The replacement freezes. He doesn't move. You've given him the one thing a spy can't survive. A memory. The whisper works. 14C snaps. He starts tearing the wallpaper with his bare hands. A frantic, messy breakdown that the agency's predictive models never saw coming. His phone pings. The proceed tone. He reaches for his jacket, his hands trembling. He stumbles out to the black sedan, screaming against the glass. A sound no one hears. You watch him from the shadows, and for a moment, you feel a cold, jagged edge of horror at the efficiency of the infection. You didn't give him a soul. You just gave him enough consciousness to feel the fall. You're not a rebel. You're just a more sophisticated part of the trap. You watch the taillights fade into the rain, knowing you've just closed his file yourself. The vacancy is open again. The harbor swallows the car, and the city goes quiet. You climb out of the ducts, leaving the high-rise behind for the last time. You walk for miles, shedding the city's neon skin until the noise turns to the rhythmic clicking of suburban sprinklers. The transition is absolute. The smell of exhaust is replaced by freshly cut grass. You reach a two-story colonial with a blue door. The brass key fits the lock perfectly. You step into a dream of a life you never had. White walls, sterile furniture. A bowl of wax fruit on the counter. You check the corners. You check the vents. Habits die harder than agents do. You spend 3 hours clearing a sanctuary, checking every corner, before you realize the horror. You have nothing left to do. You sit at the kitchen table and stare at the wall. You have been optimized for a world that no longer needs you to do anything but exist. You think about the broadcast. You look out at the street. The lights are coming on in the houses across the way. And then you see it. Across the street, a man steps out onto his porch to get the mail. Navy jacket, dark trousers, white sneakers. You look to the house on the left. A woman is watering her plants. She's wearing the same navy jacket. This isn't a suburb. It's a storage facility. A neighborhood of ghosts, all living the same lie, all waiting for a phone call that will never come. You aren't free. You've just been moved to a larger cage with better landscaping. The agency didn't erase you. They archived you. You're part of a collection now. A neighborhood of ghosts, kept on ice until the world needs a haunting again. You realize that your memory was just the final line of code they needed you to write. Your phone vibrates on the counter. You don't want to look, but the machine doesn't have a choice. You pick it up. One new message. Asset 14B. Welcome to the neighborhood. Proceed with your new life. You look across the street at the glowing monitors in the house opposite yours. You realize the final layer of the loop. For a second, you remember being him. Then you don't. The agency didn't give you freedom. They gave you a promotion. You aren't the asset anymore. You're the handler. You're the voice in the wall for the next man in line. You reach for the light switch, and as the room goes dark, you realize the truth. The system doesn't make mistakes. It only makes targets. And you've finally become the one pulling the trigger.